We're boarding the 8 a.m. ferry from Larne to Kilchurin for a week's photography in Scotland. This has been on my bucket list for a number of years and I'm really looking forward to it. My buddy Owen is with me and the plan is to drive to Glasgow to pick up the camper van that he has hired, as my one is too small for both of us, and we'll drive in convoy after that. Welcome to episode 1 of this series, which covers our first 2 days of photography trip to Scotland. We get some fantastic light at the lone tree at Milarrochy Bay on Loch Lomond. Then it's on to Kilchurin Castle, where we get amazing reflections at dawn with snow-topped mountains and still water. Following that, we're on to Orchid Falls and finally to Glencoe, where we capture Black Rock Cottage by day and then experience amazing northern light that evening, and finally get a fantastic sunrise at the Cascades under on Buachaille Edh Moor. Good morning and welcome back to the channel. You join me here on a place I've wanted to visit for years now, and it was on my bucket list, and I finally brought the camper van over to Scotland. It's just approaching dawn now, and I'm here at Kilchurin Castle, and the conditions are absolutely amazing. I'd say you could come here 10 times and you never get the same again, so it's just pure luck. The water is still. There's a reflection of the castle on the lake. All the mountains are snow-capped, etc. So the gods are smiling. I came over yesterday on the ferry from Larne to Kilchurin with my friend Owen O'Donoghue. We drove then on to Glasgow. Owen hired his own camper van then in Glasgow, and then we went on to Milarrochy Bay on Loch Lomond, and we got a sunset there of a lone tree, and I'll show it to you now because I just didn't have time to get out the video because it was a bit of a rush getting from one place to the other. So we got to the car park about 5:30 p.m. and we found the tree really quickly because it's close to the lake. A massive sigh of relief when we saw that it was actually covered or surrounded by water. So this one here, after many different compositions and angles etc., was taken at 6:30 p.m. This one here then was taken 20 minutes later at 10 to 7, and I have to say it's my favourite. One is, I suppose I always prefer the landscape orientated image. I think it offers more or fills the screen more etc. And two, I really prefer the colours in this one. I'll be honest, as I drove towards Kilchurin Castle later that evening, I was delighted to, have an image in the bag already on the first day. That was totally unexpected that conditions would be this good so early. But we're out here this morning, early start. It's just coming up for 7 o'clock now, so sunrise is supposed to be 7, but we are surrounded by a lot of mountains, and if it does come up, it'll come up on the right of the castle and there'll be some side lighting come on it, and that'll improve it even more again. Now, as I say, at the moment it's pretty good. I've been shooting at f11, 6, 7, 8 seconds depending, with a polarizer on it just to take away some of the glare off the water, and we're just waiting for some more light. Well, I don't often say it, but I love this one. We were blessed with the conditions, the reflection, the snow-capped mountains. It started off with some rocks in the foreground, and then I decided there wasn't enough emphasis on the castle and the mountains, so I cropped it from the bottom. But then the panorama took in maybe too much to the left of the castle, so I brought it back up again, and this is the final image from it, and I'm really happy with this one. This is a pre-dawn image, no light, but yet I think it has great impact. So as you can see, the ripples are on the lake and they've just ruined a lovely reflection, but we still we'll hang here half an hour, possibly even an hour, and to see will it change. Thankfully the rain has stopped now, but those ripples are still on the lake. So what I've done is just searching for compositions, waiting for a bit of colour in the sky, is there's a bank. I've come up away from the beach of the lake itself, and there's a little rolling bank here behind it, And I suppose I'm taking in more of the landscape here. There's some boulders in the foreground in a kind of a grassy slope that leads down to the lake itself, and I'm putting those in the foreground and getting more of the whole landscape here, and so that the castle certainly is smaller within the landscape itself, but I think it gives a better overview of the whole area that the castle is situated in. Now, in order to combat the ripples, what I've done is I've put on a 3-stop filter, and at f11 that is giving me about 12 seconds. So I'll shoot away at this for the moment and see how I go. So from that position on the raised bank, I ended up taking a pano of 7 or 8 images going from left to right at 8 seconds at f11. And although the reflection isn't as good as the previous shot, it still helped to smooth the water a little bit and get some sort of a reflection in it. So I'm happy enough with this one. It was almost a filler while I was waiting to see would the light change or get a bit of colour in the sky. So yeah, it's okay. Still waiting for the light, I spotted some brightly coloured yellow reeds out in the lake and decided to put the camera really low and put those in the foreground. Thankfully the wind had receded and the lovely smooth water and reflection was back on the lake at this stage. I'm happy enough with this one, which is unusual for me. I'm normally moaning about the type of shots, etc. But you know, when the conditions are right and the subject is there in front of you, photography is easy. So we hung around for another hour or so waiting for a bit of light, and eventually it happened. But you know what, it got very strong and very harsh. But here's one. There's a copse of trees just to the right on this side of the shore as you're looking at the castle, and that's where I got this one. And then when the sun was out, there was a tiny little sprinkling of drizzle or mist, etc., and that's where this rainbow shot comes from. So all in all, I have to say it was a very successful morning at Kilchurin Castle and well worth getting up out of bed for. So we finally left Kilchurin Castle after about 3 attempts to move. First of all, the light came out, then we were heading again and the rainbow came and a few things like that. So we probably overstayed our time there. But now I'm down at the Falls of Orchy, which is only about 20 minutes from the castle itself. Now the falls here are very, I call them Icelandic. I think Brewer Foss is one of the places that I've been. They look very much like this, where you have a kind of a plateau on either side of a gorge and then the river running down through it. So it's really easy access. There's a car park really close by. So you can see my composition through the actual camera itself. I've come to a slightly elevated point above the gorge and I'm looking straight up along the river. There's a snow-capped mountain in the background which tops it off and gives it lovely, just a lovely feel to it, and you have a couple of trees on either side which are bare now because we're on the 3rd of March. But then you can see all these lovely cascades coming down on either side. So I'm just going to try get a overall wide angle composition to start with, and then I might zoom in on some of the cascades and see how they go. You know, as photographers we say, you know, there's a shot here somewhere. And I'm sure there's a shot here somewhere at Orchy Falls, but I couldn't find it. And I'm not mad about this one, it's just too busy and it just doesn't work. And I spent another hour there and I still couldn't get, I tried close-ups, I tried wide angle, etc. And to be honest, I didn't capture anything else at this location worthy of showing in this video. Having said that, I wouldn't discount this location. If I did go back to Scotland, I'd certainly pay this another visit because there's a shot here somewhere, I just didn't get it on the day. At that stage it was getting on for 12 noon and the boys haven't been up for 5:30, we're getting a bit hungry. So it was time for the brekkie and then get back on the road heading north again. This time moving up as far as Castle Stalker on Loch Lomond. It's about 60k, but in the vans it's a little bit more than an hour. So we made it up as far as Castle Stalker, and you can see straight away it just doesn't have the same appeal as Kilchurin Castle. It took about an hour and 20, I suppose, to come up the road, and it's a very scenic drive and plenty to see on both sides, but not a whole lot of places to actually stop. So the loch that Castle Stalker here is based in is actually tidal, and of course with Murphy's Law the tide is out, so there is some seaweed around the place, and I've got to zoom in a little bit just to get rid of that. Now there are some mountains in the background that are making it nice and moody, so hopefully I'll put on either a 6-stop filter, which I have at the moment, and I'm only getting about 5 or 6 seconds because although it's moody it is still quite bright, so I might try a 10-stop filter on that just to smooth out everything. It's an imposing castle. It's not as impressive as Kilchurin, but it's certainly imposing in its background, and so we'll give it a few shots from here and see how it goes. So this is what I ended up with, and it's the only shot I got after about an hour and a half at Castle Stalker. I have to say I'm much happier when I saw it on the big screen than I was actually on the ground. I didn't think I got a shot at all, but look, it's not too bad. There's a nice bit of light on the background, etc. Nice bit of light on the castle itself, but I suppose maybe it was after the exhilaration of Kilchurin Castle that this didn't light my fire in the same way. But looking at it now, you know, it's an okay shot. After Castle Stalker, we moved on to Glencoe, and I have to say I was really impressed with the landscape there. It was absolutely fantastic as we entered into the Glen area, and I was really looking forward to some great photography. Our first port of call was the Glencoe ski resort. One, because you can park up there and it has showers and toilets, and second, because of Black Rock Cottage. So this is on the little road that as you enter the ski resort, and you can see it sits under on Buachaille Eithaf Moor. As it's quite a busy road in and out of the ski resort, I didn't take out the video camera, but here's a couple of shots. For the first one, I thought the rock was a little bit too central, even though I do like the clump of trees on the right. For the second one then, I adjusted the composition so the little roadway into the cottage is used as a kind of a lead-in line, and it places the big rock in the bottom right hand corner, but it may be a little bit over dominant. But I still like these two shots. Little did we know at that stage what was going to happen later that night at this very spot. And now we're at Glen Eithaf, and this, I suppose, the honeypot location where you have on Buachaille Moor in the background, and then you have these little falls and cascades in the foreground. So there's a couple of different cascades just within 50 metres up and down the river here, and I'm just taking a few shots here at sunset. So I'll start here. There's a nice cascade here, and then I'll move down. So I'll just give you a look at what I'm actually photographing now. So here it is, my first shot at Buachaille Eithaf Moor. And to be honest, look, there's nice colours in the sky. We were blessed with a nice sunset, etc. But I just fell into the trap of trying to take it all in. You know, you see it with the eyes and you think it's beautiful, instead of concentrating on smaller elements of the photograph itself. Possibly my last location of the evening, as you know, it's getting dark really fast now. It's pushing on for what, 10 to 6, but it's beautiful colour in the sky. Again, I'm just bracketing and I still have the 3-stop graduated filter on. And again, as I said, I know this is the honeypot location. Everybody has it, but I don't, so I'm taking it away with me, and I'm thrilled that, on my first visit here, I've been so lucky with the light. I'm much happier with this one. I think it's a much more attractive image. I've zoned in on just one little cascade. You have the single tree in the mid-ground and then Buachaille Etabh in the background. The light was fabulous that night. However, it is coming from the wrong side and not lighting up the mountain. So there is a case for coming back the next morning. So at that stage, I thought the day was done and dusted. We went back to the ski resort, parked up the vans, started to get in a beer and some dinner. Then some stranger knocked on the van and he said, "Lads, the Northern Lights are out, do you want to see them?" We got out of the van, set up the cameras on tripods and just pointed at some random mountains in the distance to see if it was worthwhile actually, going about and getting this shot. So at that stage, we decided to run back down the road to the Black Rock Cottage, which is about 500 metres from where we parked. And we stayed there for, I suppose, half an hour taking a few images. We were using a little torch to light up the cottage itself, and just amazed at what was coming up at the back of the camera, because I'd never shot the Northern Lights before. So after all the excitement, it was back to the van, a couple of beers, into the bed and up early again the next morning for dawn. We went back to Buachaille Etabh and the light again was absolutely beautiful. Now, I didn't take any video with me because I would be only repeating the process that I had on the previous night. So here's the image. It's the same image in landscape and a square crop. And let me know if you have a favourite in the comments below. I just think this is probably my favourite image of the entire trip, although there are some that I haven't actually processed yet. But this is way up on my bucket list because I've been waiting for a long time for this. And that wraps up my first 2 days in Scotland. I've been really lucky with the light and with the weather. I certainly didn't expect this coming over. Here's a very short slideshow of the images that I captured on the first 2 days. I hope you'll join me for episode 2 as we keep moving northwards onto Fort William and the old boat of Cale at Corpac, and then onwards up to Kilchurin Castle and then onto the Isle of Skye. So thank you for watching and hopefully see you in episode 2.